No one in the outpost ever forgot the sound of her footsteps that night. Quiet, deliberate, and burning with something far stronger than fear. They said she walked straight into hell and came back holding the truth that could have ended them all. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. It started with silence, the kind that hums before the storm. Sergeant Elena Ward crouched behind a ridge of blackened rock, her fingers gripping the dirt until it bit into her palms. Beyond that ridge, half a mile away, a group of men in stolen uniforms had her commander, Colonel Rains, on his knees, blindfolded, surrounded by armed insurgents. The radio in her ear buzzed with static. A dead signal. The team was gone, scattered during the ambush hours earlier. Backup wouldn't come. The only thing between Rains and certain death was her heartbeat, loud, fast, and steady like the tick of a countdown clock. Elena had always been the quiet one, the observer, the one who memorized the sound of every weapon, the smell of dust in the wind, the way danger could sneak up in the shape of a sunset. But tonight, quiet wasn't an option. She watched them drag the colonel to the center of the compound, a decaying village square littered with broken walls and the shadows of a dozen rifles. They wanted him alive long enough to send a message. They wanted the world to see his execution. She couldn't let that happen. Her breath came in short bursts. Her body trembled, not from fear, from focus. She checked her last magazine. 8 rounds. That was all she had. 0.8 rounds and one impossible choice. The insurgents laughed as they kicked the colonel forward. He stumbled, his uniform torn, his face bruised. When one of them raised a camera, she knew what was coming. The world would watch a good man die for propaganda. Unless she moved now. Elena's mind flashed back. A single, haunting memory. 2 weeks earlier, Rains had placed a hand on her shoulder after a failed mission. "Ward," he said, "someday, the only orders you'll hear are the ones your heart gives. Don't ignore them." She didn't. Not then. Not now. She slipped down the slope, silent as smoke. Her boots barely made a sound against the gravel. Every breath felt like borrowed air. A broken drone lay beside a cracked wall, its camera lens shattered, its shadow long under the fading moonlight. Inside the compound, the men were arguing in a language she partly understood, half threats, half excitement. One phrase cut through the rest. At dawn, they burned the village, not just a hostage situation. A massacre waiting to happen. Elena's pulse spiked. She wasn't just saving one man. She was standing between life and annihilation. A faint sound, the scrape of metal, pulled her attention. A guard patrolling the back fence. She ducked behind an overturned truck, the rust flaking against her cheek. The guard lit a cigarette, his face glowing in the orange ember. 1 breath. One chance. The knife left her hand like a whisper, finding the soft spot just below his jaw. He didn't even cry out. She caught him before he fell, lowering him gently to the ground. Her hands shook as she retrieved the blade. "Sorry," she whispered, not to him, but to herself. Every kill left a scar she couldn't see. Inside the courtyard, the scene had shifted. The leader, a tall man in desert fatigues with an expression of theatrical calm, held a radio to his mouth, shouting orders. Rains knelt at his feet, blood streaking down his temple. Elena's eyes darted to the nearby shed. Gasoline barrels, wires, a detonator rigged to the fence line. If she fired a single round wrong, the whole place would go up. The clock was ticking toward dawn. Her body moved before her mind caught up. She sprinted low, sliding behind a concrete pillar as one insurgent turned his head. The moonlight glinted off her rifle barrel, a flash of silver that could give her away. She froze. A dog barked in the distance. Voices rose, then faded. She breathed again. Across the courtyard, Rains stirred, coughing. His voice, hoarse but defiant, carried just enough to reach her. "Don't you dare! Come for me, Ward." But he didn't know she was already there. She spotted the leader's pistol, gold-plated, arrogant, resting on a crate beside him. That would be her cue. She aimed, her fingers steady, her heart unsteady. Then a child's cry broke from the shadows. Elena's eyes flicked toward the sound. A little girl clutching a tattered blanket, peering through a half-collapsed doorway. Villagers. Civilians. Still here. Her plan shifted instantly. She couldn't go loud. Not with them inside. She needed a diversion. Something quiet. Something human. She reached into her vest and pulled out a small flare, not to signal, but to deceive. She tossed it into the far alley. The flare hissed to life, spilling red light and confusion. The guards shouted. Two ran toward the alley. The leader barked orders. In that second, Elena stepped from cover, her rifle raised. "Let him go," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos like glass through silk. Every weapon turned toward her. The leader laughed. One soldier against 30 men? Elena didn't blink. One soldier who knows where your detonator is. His smile faltered. Just slightly. She took a step closer. You kill him, and this whole compound burns before dawn. Including you. Silence. The kind that makes even the wind stop listening. Then, a soft click, the leader cocking his pistol. Bluff, he hissed. Try me, she said. The standoff stretched for an eternity, hearts racing, fingers trembling on triggers. And then, something shifted. A single shot cracked through the air, but not hers. The leader jerked backward, his chest blooming red. One of his own men, a young insurgent, barely 20, stood behind him, gun raised, eyes wide with trembling defiance. He was going to kill them all, the boy shouted. The villagers. Everyone. Chaos erupted. Elena dove forward, grabbing reins and dragging him behind cover. Bullets tore through the air, sparking against stone. The night became a storm of noise and fire. She returned fire, precise, measured, every shot counting. Her rifle clicked empty. She drew her sidearm and kept moving. Rains coughed beside her, his voice rough. You shouldn't have come. She smiled through the dust. You'd have done the same. By dawn, the fighting slowed. The insurgents who survived had fled. Smoke curled from the barrels and broken rooftops. The boy who had turned on his leader stood shaking, the weapon slipping from his hands. Elena approached him carefully. You saved them, she said softly. You did the right thing. He looked up, tears cutting through the soot on his face. No, he whispered. I just couldn't do the wrong one. They found the villagers huddled in cellars, clutching each other, whispering prayers. When Elena led them into the light, the morning sun painted everything gold. Broken walls, fallen rifles, and faces that had just seen hope rise again. Rains, leaning on her shoulder, managed a weak grin. You always disobey orders this beautifully, Sergeant? She laughed, the kind of laugh that trembles between relief and disbelief. Only when it matters. Later, when the rescue convoy finally arrived, Elena stood on the ridge where it had all begun. The wind carried the smell of smoke and wild sage. Behind her, the village stirred back to life, small, fragile, unbroken. Rains walked up beside her, his voice quiet. You know, you didn't just save me. She nodded. I saved us. Because sometimes, wars aren't fought for countries. They're fought for the promise that people are still worth saving, because courage isn't loud. It's the quiet choice to step forward when everyone else stands still, and somewhere beyond that ridge, the echo of her footsteps still hums, a reminder that one heart, steady and brave, can stop the storm. Outro. If this story moved you, tell me in the comments, what would you have done in her place? And if you believe courage still has a face, make sure to subscribe for more stories like this. Your support keeps these voices alive.